Get it, boy. Get it. Oh, he's getting it. Well, welcome to another episode of Lad's Garage. As you can see, we're out on the road. No, I'm not bringing the Trucking Diaries back here. You can go over to the Trucking Diaries page. That's, the Lad's Garage Trucking Diaries. But what I thought about, since I didn't make it out to the shop this week or next week, why not speak my mind on some stuff? You know what I mean? That being, what's the perfect rule set for a stock car class or street stocks or whatever people call them? So I thought about maybe speaking my mind a little bit. So I'd like to look at this in two different perspectives. One, as a driver. Two, as a fan. So as a driver, last thing you really want to go to a track is knowing that you don't have a chance. What I mean is, showing up, knowing that you're racing for second. One guy goes out and dominates the field, and nobody else wants to show up and race because, well, according to the rules, whatever their rules are from where they're from, or however they're set up, they know they ain't got nothing for the guy. So, what's the perfect ideal for in that situation? Well, there really ain't one. Uh, everybody wants to win. Don't get me wrong. But nobody wants to race the same guy that they know is just going to go out and win unless, whatever reason they break or spin out. Big thing is, everybody just wants a chance. At least a little glimmer of hope of winning. Let's look at this from a fan's perspective. Well, I like to see some good racing. Not just, like I said, one guy going out and winning. That to me kind of derates the class, It looks like one guy spends a lot of money to win, or everybody else is just running pure junk, and that could be the case, don't get me wrong, but, dadgum. What I like to see is somebody, have a little competition, side by side, not everybody racing for second, it's race for first. It's cool when you watch classes race. You could throw a blanket over the top five. Or at any moment the guy in 10th place might come out there and right past everybody. That's what people like to see. That's what I get excited to see when I'm sitting in the stands. I don't, hit the replay button. Who's going to win this one? Now, I ain't saying I'm a big fan of tight rules by any means. I do like it when rules are open, but yet set in place to where you can have good competition. And a lot of people say, well, it comes down to, you got late models going against late spring cars. That ain't necessarily the case. I know some late spring cars. See it all the time, different tracks where guys are running late springs and just stomping the crap out of them old metric cars like Intimidator. But a lot of people argue over engine rules. And I think that would have a lot to do with it. Especially when we start talking cubic inches and roller cams and all this other fun stuff. So if follow the channel any, or have followed the channel, Intimidator been sitting on the sideline. Why has Intimidator been sitting on the sideline? Well, engine rule change. We had what they called an open rule. Pretty open rule. No cubic inch limitations. You can run roller cams and all this other stuff. Only requirements was pretty much steel head and 2-barrel carburetor. Basic. I ain't going into details, but that was pretty much the basic rules on the engine. Dome pistons were allowed, roller cams, you know, I ran dart heads on my car. No roller cam, no, I just kept it simple. So, where am I getting at with this whole ordeal? Well, we had, if you guys watched my last video, where we were at the track with the Counts boys, now the Towner came in with an old familiar car. The old familiar car was running supposedly a 406 cubic inch engine, roller cam, supposedly. Long story short, he finished 7/10 of a second faster on his fastest lap than the second place car, which I believe is a 383. Supposedly flat top pistons and all that stuff. I don't know. And then your third fastest car was 5/10 of a second slower than your second place car. Then everybody else is pretty well, you know, right there close together. And there was some good racing in that second and third, or third and fourth was racing good. You know, there's a little bit of gap in between, you know, smaller car count this week or last week. You know, second and third place, or third and fourth place was racing good. First and second, there was a gap there. You know, fourth to fifth, there was a gap. It just how it works out. But the argument came up over on the internet over the 406. So the argument come up over, you know, pretty much one car, the car that's been whooping everybody for, you know, now going on 2 years, got whooped. You know, people wasn't happy about, or at least they wasn't happy about getting whooped anyway. Other people are like, woo, somebody finally beat them. They got beat last year, I think once, maybe twice. But either way, my opinion is that when it comes to engine rules, figure out what works, what's going to put on the best show. I'll admit, part of the reason why they allowed 383s was to try to accommodate, you know, yours truly with my engine setup I had. But there was just no feasible way for me to make it happen, which is why Intimidator ended up sitting on the sidelines for so long. I'm not a very good engine builder, let's be honest with you. Oh, that was some money wasted. So, my honest opinion is, I think tracks ought to, you know, you want a close competition, figure out what the guys are running, you know, mid to back, you know, about mid-pack or so. What are them guys running? Well, in the case at Farmington, most of them are running 355s. That to me is big enough. At least for this street stock class or stock car. Let's just say stock car because it covers a whole wide variety. But that just makes more sense. You know, have a 355, or let's just go with 360. Just go ahead and give that little bit extra there. Have a 360 rule. Man, it sounds right. With allow the 5.3 liter fuel injected LS junkyard engines. I know that's a scary thought. That's part of the reason why I'm wanting to try it. Because from videos I seen last year, the 5.3 liter junkyard LS was competitive with the 355s, flat top 355s, 9-to-1 compression. That was competitive. They raced close together. So, that's just my honest opinion. I think, you know, I understand. The guy doesn't want to have to go out and have a, you know, spend thousands of dollars on an engine just to say you can't use it. Now, I would be completely understanding if, say I showed up with Intimidator with a 5.3 LS fuel injected junkyard engine. And by junkyard, I mean junkyard. OEM parts, plastic intake, junk fuel injectors, and, of course, you got individual coil packs and all that. I ain't talking going out and buying a complete Holley Terminator whatever kit for an LS. I'm just talking junkyard. Something that you can go pick up for $1,000 at a junkyard. But I would be 100% understandable if I went out there and walked the dog on the fastest guy out there, them saying, well, better not do that. That ain't fair. That'd be understandable. I know everybody wants to win. People are going to do and spend what they have to do and spend to win. But it'd be, pretty cool if everybody had a chance. I personally think it'd help car count at tracks if they ran. Now hear me out. I ain't saying, you gotta have, crack the whip, down to the nitty gritty rules. I like kind of an open gray area type setup. You know what I mean? But cut the rules down where everybody's got a little bit more of a fair chance. And I'm just talking street stocks. Modifieds, that's a whole nother world there. But put the rules where the working man can afford it again. That's why I'm making the push for the LS stuff. It's cheap, readily available, and like I said, it's competitive with your 355s. So let's go with a 360 engine rule. Yeah, let's say flat top pistons, open head, open steel head, and allow air gap intakes. If you want to put a cam in it that you can spin it to the moon, you're going to throw a rod out eventually. But that's up to you if you want to spend that money. I think that's a good basic small block Chevy rule. Now let's talk to the LS stuff. I'm really big about trying to make this happen. And some people are freaked out over the aluminum heads and fuel injection. Look, there have been videos done on stock setups, LS setups versus 350 setups. Even after tuning, a carbureted 350 with a air gap intake produces more power and torque than a stock style tuned up 5.3 liter LS. Now when we're talking LS rules, stock heads, I don't know about cam. I don't know if that's going to make a big difference or not, but let's say allow a little bit of a cam. But let's keep the intake stock fuel injectors. Wish I could see what he's got over there wrapping out. Hear it? Demo derby car. All right. Get it, boy. Get it. Oh, he's getting it. Back to business. Let's keep the LS, pretty well stocked. Nothing wrong with rebuilding one and freshening it up or whatever. Why not? It's going to have to happen eventually anyway. Because, honestly, it's harder and harder to find a 5.7 liter American 350 Chevrolet engine. And honestly, the cost is just getting ridiculous. Let's just be honest with it. I think the LS is going to be the death of your small block Chevys at a racetrack, to tell you the truth. Now, wouldn't it be something to show up to the track with an engine that you pulled out of a pickup truck at the junkyard and have less than $1,000 tied up in it, and whoop the crap out of somebody that's got thousands tied up into a small block Chevy. Wouldn't that just be something? The fumes, the race fuel is coming this way. Oh man, we're talking engines. And that guy's over yonder firing up he's over there somewhere. Firing up this demo derby car. Running on 110. And we're talking engines over here. But just want to throw this out there. A lot of people are worried about the LS53 engines, and I keep saying because they're worried about the aluminum heads and the fuel injection and all the tunability of it. Just think, if you're scared of a junkyard engine, imagine it's running on a stock setup. Imagine what could happen if years down the road you start progressing it. You know, more and more people start getting on the setup and, you know, progress it. How fast are these cars? Could these cars go on an LS setup? You know what I mean? But where we're getting at here is, first off, something's got to change. In the street stocks, stock cars, whatever we're going to call them today, something's got to change or the class is going to die. Cut and dry. Because guys don't want to spend the money to go out and race a stock car. They're going to spend $15,000 to race a car. They're going to go get in a modified. You know, I've always heard it. Stock cars or street stocks, however you want to call it, factory stocks, super street, super stocks. I don't know what all they got nature. Well, it used to be the working man's class. At least that's what I've always heard. I don't know how true it is. I'm only almost 35 years old, but dadgum. You gotta spend $2,000-$3,000 to build a baseline engine to run second, maybe third if you're lucky. Where does it end at? I know people are going to say, well, chassis setups. I've seen cars on stock suspensions with a good, people know what they're doing with shocks and springs. Set a car up, no adjustable parts or anything. Just go out and walk the dog on these cars that are fully adjustable. But what I'm getting at, engines are a big cost. Part of the reason why we've been sitting on the sidelines is because, well, pockets empty, you know. No money in the wallet means no money in the race car. You see what I'm saying here? Oh man, it sucks. But instead, we spent billions and billions and billions of dollars in racing. There's no reason. Let's make racing affordable again. Dadgum!